I found a note in my wedding dress that my sister returned, and now my entire marriage is a lie. I never thought a piece of fabric could hold so much weight. Not just the physical weight of silk and lace, but the weight of memories, promises, and apparently, secrets that could destroy everything. My name is Rachel, and I'm 32 years old. I've been married to my husband, David, for 6 years. We have what I always considered to be a solid marriage, not perfect but real. We laugh together, we argue about whose turn it is to take out the trash, and we dream about the future. Or at least, I thought we did. This whole nightmare started 3 months ago when my younger sister, Melissa, got engaged. She's 28, and honestly, I was thrilled for her. Melissa has always been the free spirit of the family, the one who backpacked through Europe, who changed careers 3 times, who dated musicians and artists. So when she told us she was marrying Connor, a steady, reliable accountant she'd been with for 2 years, my parents and I were genuinely happy. She seemed happy too, in a calm, settled way that was new for her. The wedding planning was a whirlwind. Melissa wanted something small and intimate, which was very her. But she was on a tight budget, Connor's family had some medical expenses, and they were saving for a house. That's when she asked me the question that would eventually unravel my entire life. "Rach," she said one afternoon when she came over for coffee, "I know this is a huge ask, and please say no if you're uncomfortable, but would you let me borrow your wedding dress?" I remember feeling this warm rush of sisterly love. My dress had been sitting in a preservation box in our spare room closet for 6 years. The idea of Melissa wearing it, of it being part of another happy beginning, felt right. Of course, I told her, squeezing her hand. I'd be honored. She teared up, which made me tear up, and we had this beautiful moment that I'll probably never be able to think about the same way again. The alterations were minimal. Melissa and I are close in size, though she's an inch taller. She looked absolutely stunning at her wedding 2 months ago. Seeing her walk down the aisle in my dress, I felt this bittersweet joy. It was like watching a piece of my own history become part of hers. David was oddly quiet during the reception. I noticed it but didn't think much of it at the time. He said he was tired from work, he'd been pulling long hours at his firm, trying to make partner. He's a corporate lawyer, and the hours can be brutal. I remember rubbing his shoulder and telling him we could leave early if he wanted. He just shook his head and ordered another whiskey. Melissa and Connor left for their honeymoon in Costa Rica the next day. The plan was that she'd return the dress to me once they got back and she'd had it professionally cleaned. That was the agreement. They returned 2 weeks ago, tanned and glowing with that newlywed energy. Melissa dropped off the dress yesterday afternoon. I was working from home, I'm a graphic designer and my studio is in our converted garage, when she came by. "Thank you again," she said, handing me the garment bag. She looked different somehow. Tired maybe, or anxious. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "For everything. Are you okay?" I asked, noticing her hands were shaking slightly. "Just jet-lagged," she said quickly. "Still adjusting. I should go, I have a million things to unpack." She hugged me, holding on a bit longer than usual, and then she was gone. I hung the garment bag in the closet, planning to check the dress later to make sure the cleaning had been done properly before I had it preserved again. But life got busy. I had a client deadline, David had depositions, and the dress hung there, forgotten, for almost a week. Until this morning. I woke up early, couldn't sleep. David was still snoring softly beside me, sprawled across his side of the bed in that way he does, one arm flung over his head. I looked at him in the dim morning light, at the face I'd known for 8 years total, married to for 6. He had some gray coming in at his temples now, little lines around his eyes. I felt that comfortable affection you feel for someone who's become your home. I decided to finally deal with the dress. I made coffee, pulled the garment bag from the closet, and carefully unzipped it. The dress was beautiful, just as I remembered. I ran my hands over the delicate lace sleeves, the pearl buttons down the back. It smelled like Melissa's perfume, something floral and light, different from my usual scent. I was about to zip it back up when I felt something odd in one of the hidden pockets. My dress has 2 small pockets sewn into the seams, one of the things I'd specifically requested from the designer because I wanted to keep a tissue handy during the ceremony. I'd completely forgotten about them. I reached into the right pocket. My fingers closed around a piece of paper, folded small. For a second, I smiled. Maybe it was a sweet note from Melissa, a thank you message. That would be like her, sentimental and thoughtful. I unfolded the paper. The handwriting wasn't Melissa's. My hands started shaking before my brain fully processed what I was reading. The note was written in a man's handwriting, angular, rushed, intense. And the words. God, the words. I can't stop thinking about you in this dress. About last time. I know we said never again after she found that text, but seeing you today, I don't know how to stay away. You're the one I want to wake up next to. You're the one I dream about. This is torture. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry for everything. But I can't lose you again. Meet me. Thursday night. Same place. Please. D. The coffee cup slipped from my other hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. The sound seemed to come from very far away. D. Last time. After she found that text. I read it again. And again. My vision blurred, refocused, blurred again. And Melissa. It had to be. Who else? D. David. My husband. My partner. The man sleeping in our bed right now. I thought about Melissa's shaking hands yesterday. Her too long hug. The way she couldn't meet my eyes. I thought about David's strange mood at her wedding. His extra drinks. His silence. After she found that text. My mind raced backward. 6 months ago, maybe 7. I'd borrowed David's phone because mine was dead and I needed to check my email. A text notification had popped up while I was holding it. It was from a number not saved in his contacts. Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. I've been thinking about you all day. I confronted him immediately. I remember my heart pounding, my hands shaking just like they were now. He'd seemed genuinely confused at first, then frustrated. Rachel, I have no idea who that's from, he'd said. It's probably a wrong number or some spam thing. You know I've been getting those weird texts lately. And I'd believed him. Because he'd been getting spam texts, we both had. Because he'd offered to call the number right then and there. Because he'd pulled me close and looked me in the eyes and said, "You're the only person I want to see at the end of any day." You know that, right? I believed him because I was his wife, and you believe your husband. You trust the person you chose to build a life with. But that text hadn't been spam. It had been from Melissa. My sister. I stood in the middle of my bedroom, holding this note, and I felt my entire reality fracture like the coffee cup on the floor. Every memory, every moment, every certainty I'd built my adult life on suddenly became suspect. How long? That's what my brain kept screaming. How long? You're the one I want to wake up next to. They'd been sleeping together. My husband and my sister. David and Melissa. I heard David stirring in the bedroom. Any second now, he'd wake up and come looking for me. He'd find me standing here with this note, with the evidence of his betrayal literally in my hands. Part of me wanted to march in there right now and throw it in his face. To scream. To demand answers. But a colder, quieter part of me, a part I didn't know I had, whispered, wait. Think. You need to know everything before you act. After she found that text. They'd been scared I discovered them. But they hadn't stopped. They'd just been more careful. And then Melissa had worn my wedding dress to marry another man. She'd walked down the aisle in the dress I'd married David in, while having an affair with my husband. The audacity of it. The cruelty. It was so grotesque I almost couldn't process it. Rach? David's voice called from the bedroom, sleepy and warm. You okay? I heard something break. I looked down at the note in my trembling hand. Thursday night. That was 3 days ago. The night David said he had to work late on the Henderson case. Had he been with her? In our wedding dress? I felt bile rise in my throat. I'm fine. I called back, and I was amazed at how normal my voice sounded. How steady. Just dropped a mug. I'll clean it up. Want help? No, I got it. I heard him settle back into bed. I carefully folded the note and slipped it into my own pocket. Then I grabbed paper towels and cleaned up the broken mug, moving on autopilot. My phone was on the counter. I picked it up and opened my calendar. Thursday night, 3 days ago. I'd been at a client dinner until almost 11. I remembered coming home to find David already in bed, supposedly exhausted from work. I opened his location history, we shared it with each other, a practical thing we'd set up years ago, not out of mistrust but convenience. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely navigate the app. Thursday, 8:47 p.m. His location showed a hotel downtown. The Riverside Inn. He'd been there for 3 hours. I felt something inside me go very cold and very still. I checked last Thursday. Same hotel, same time frame. The Thursday before that. Same pattern. I went back weeks. The pattern was there, every Thursday, like clockwork. Sometimes the Riverside Inn. Sometimes other hotels. Once, an address I didn't recognize, I looked it up and found it was a short-term rental property. All those late work nights. All those apologetic texts about depositions and client meetings. Lies. All of it. I thought about Melissa's wedding. About watching her in my dress, laughing with Connor, cutting the cake. About David's silence that night, his drinking. Had they looked at each other? Had there been moments I'd miss where their eyes met and held secrets? Connor. Oh God, Connor. He didn't know either. He'd married Melissa thinking she loved him, the same way I'd married David thinking he loved only me. We were both fools, both betrayed by the people who'd stood before us and made vows. I heard David get up, heard the shower start running. Soon he'd come out, kiss my cheek, ask me what I wanted for breakfast. He'd be the man I'd loved for 8 years, the man who still held my hand when we watched movies, who did that stupid dance in the kitchen that always made me laugh. Except he wasn't that man. That man was a character he played. The real David was someone who could sleep with my sister. Who could lie to my face for months, maybe years. Who could watch me break down over that spam text and hold me while I cried, knowing exactly who it was from. The note burned in my pocket like a living thing. Thursday night. Same place. That was 4 days away. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes too wide. But I wasn't crying. I thought I'd be crying by now, but instead I just felt empty. Numb. Like I was watching this happen to someone else. And then, slowly, the numbness began to harden into something else. Something colder. They thought they'd gotten away with it. They thought I was clueless, trusting, stupid. The note had been a mistake. Melissa had probably slipped it into the dress pocket to hide it from Connor and forgotten about it in the chaos of wedding preparations and the honeymoon. But I had it now. I had proof. The question was, what was I going to do with it? David emerged from the bathroom, toweling his hair, wearing the navy suit I'd bought him for Christmas. He smiled when he saw me. "Morning, beautiful," he said, like he always did. Like this was just another normal day in our normal life. I smiled back. "Morning." And I began to plan. The next 4 days were the longest of my life. I moved through them like an actress playing the role of Rachel, the loving wife, the trusting sister, the woman who had no idea her entire world was built on lies. I made David breakfast. I laughed at his jokes. I sent Melissa a text asking how married life was treating her. She responded with heart emojis and a selfie of her and Connor at brunch. I stared at that photo for a long time, at her smile, trying to find the person who could do this to me. I couldn't reconcile the sister I'd grown up with, the girl who'd held my hair when I was sick, who'd been my maid of honor, who'd cried when I let her wear my wedding dress, with the woman who'd been sleeping with my husband. But people are complicated, aren't they? They can love you and betray you in the same breath. I didn't confront David. I didn't break down. Instead, I did something I never thought myself capable of. I investigated. I went through his phone while he slept. The passcode hadn't changed, because why would it? I was the trusting wife. I found a messaging app I didn't recognize, one buried in a folder of work applications. When I opened it, I found months of messages. The things I read made me physically ill. I had to run to the bathroom twice to vomit. But I forced myself to read all of it. Every message. Every secret. Every lie. It had started 2 years ago. 2 years. Not months, years. They'd met for coffee, just the two of them, while I was on a work trip to Seattle. Melissa had been going through a breakup, needed someone to talk to. David had been that someone. According to their messages, nothing happened that first time. But they'd kept meeting. Coffee turned to lunch. Lunch turned to drinks. Drinks turned to more. The messages revealed a relationship that was both physical and emotional. They talked about me. About Connor, after he entered the picture. About the guilt they felt, the impossibility of their situation. But neither of them stopped. They couldn't stay away from each other, they said. It was like an addiction. There were messages from the week of Melissa's wedding. David had written, "Watching you marry him today is going to kill me. You know that, right? You should be marrying me." Her response, "You're already married, D, to my sister. We can't. We've talked about this 1,000 times." His reply, "So we just keep sneaking around forever? I'm tired of lying to her. Sometimes I think we should just tell them both and deal with the fallout." Her response, "And destroy 2 marriages? Hurt Rachel like that? Hurt Connor? No. We have to stop. After the wedding, this has to end. I mean it this time." But they hadn't stopped. The note and the dress proved that. Even after Melissa married Connor, even after she'd supposedly committed to ending it, David was still reaching out. Still begging to see her. I took screenshots of everything. I backed them up to a cloud account David didn't know about. I documented the hotel visits, the receipts I found buried in his email for romantic restaurants I'd never been to, the credit card charges he'd hidden. I built my case like a lawyer preparing for trial. Because that's what this was going to be, a trial of their lies against my evidence. I also did something else. I called a divorce attorney. Not our family lawyer, a specialist I found through a discreet online search. Her name was Patricia Reeves, and she had a reputation for handling high-conflict divorces. I made an appointment for Friday morning, the day after David's planned rendezvous with Melissa. I need to know my options, I told her over the phone. I have evidence of an extended affair. I want to know what I'm entitled to. She was professional, efficient. Come in Friday. Bring everything you have. We'll talk strategy. I also started moving money. Not all of it, I'm not a thief. But I opened my own bank account at a different bank and began transferring funds from our joint savings. Half of it. What was legally mine. I updated my direct deposit from work to go to the new account. David was so busy preparing for his Thursday night lie that he didn't notice. On Wednesday night, I had dinner with my parents. They asked about David, about Melissa and Connor. I smiled and said everyone was great. Mom mentioned how beautiful Melissa had looked in my dress. It was special, having her wear it, she said, getting teary. My two girls, sharing that moment. I excused myself to the bathroom and cried silently for 5 minutes. Then I fixed my makeup, returned to the table, and finished my meal. Thursday arrived with brutal normalcy. David kissed me goodbye that morning, told me he'd be late, the Henderson case again. He'd probably be home by midnight. Okay, I said. I'll leave dinner in the fridge. You're the best, he said, kissing my forehead. Love you. Love you too, I replied automatically. The words felt like ash in my mouth. He left. I watched his car pull out of the driveway and forced myself to breathe. I'd spent the previous evening making my own plans. I called Connor and asked him to meet me for coffee that afternoon. He'd been surprised but agreed. Is everything okay? He'd asked. I just want to catch up, I'd lied. Hear about the honeymoon. We met at a cafe across town at 3 p.m. Connor looked happy, relaxed in that way newlyweds do. He showed me photos from Costa Rica, beautiful beaches, jungle hikes, Melissa laughing in the surf. Every photo was a knife to my heart. She's been weird since we got back, Connor said after a while. Distant. I thought maybe it was just the post-wedding blues, you know? Coming down from the high of it all. But what? He ran a hand through his hair. She's been secretive with her phone. Says she's tired but she's not sleeping. Last night I woke up and she was crying in the bathroom. When I asked what was wrong, she said it was nothing, just hormones or stress. I felt that cold, hard thing in my chest expand. Melissa was guilty. Good. She should be. Connor, I said carefully, if you found out something about Melissa, something that would hurt you, would you want to know? He looked at me, confused. What kind of something? I pulled out my phone. My hand was steady. I'd made this decision, and I was going to follow through. I need you to look at something. And I need you to not react here, in public. Can you do that? His face went pale. Rachel, you're scaring me. I know. I'm sorry. But you deserve the truth. Just like I deserved it. I showed him the note first. Watched his eyes scan the words, watched comprehension dawn, watched his face crumble. No, he whispered. No, that's not. Melissa wouldn't. Then I showed him the screenshots. Not all of them, I'm not cruel, but enough. Enough to prove the pattern. Enough to prove it wasn't a mistake or a misunderstanding. We sat there in that cafe for an hour while Connor processed. He went through stages: denial, anger, bargaining, despair. I'd been through the same stages myself over the past 4 days, so I understood. I let him feel it. Finally, he looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. What are you going to do? David thinks he's meeting Melissa tonight at the Riverside Inn. Room 412. He's probably already made the reservation. How do you know? Because he's done it every Thursday for months. Same pattern. He's a creature of habit, my husband. Connor's hands were shaking. I'll kill him? No, you won't. We're going to be smarter than that. I leaned forward. We're going to catch them together. Document it. And then we're going to blow up their lies in a way they can't deny or explain away. I don't understand. I have a plan. But I need your help. And Connor, I need you to be sure. Because once we do this, there's no going back. Your marriage will be over. So will mine. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, my marriage is already over. I just didn't know it yet. Show me what you need me to do. We spent the next 2 hours preparing. I showed Connor everything, the messages, the location history, the pattern. We synchronized our watches like soldiers preparing for battle. Because that's what this was. A battle for the truth. The plan was simple: we'd go to the hotel separately. I confirmed David was there. Connor would confirm Melissa was there. Then we'd confront them together, with our phones recording everything. No more lies. No more gaslighting. Just truth, raw and undeniable. At 7:30 p.m., I was parked across from the Riverside Inn, watching the entrance. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. Part of me still hoped I was wrong. That David would never show. That this was all some terrible misunderstanding. At 8:15, David's car pulled into the parking garage. At 8:47, I saw Melissa's car arrive. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before, something red and fitted. She checked her reflection in her car window before walking inside. Even from a distance, I could see she was nervous. I texted Connor, "They're both here." His response, "I'm in the lobby. Room 412, 4th floor, like you said." My response, "Give them 20 minutes. Then we go up." Those 20 minutes were agony. I sat in my car, watching the hotel windows, imagining what was happening in room 412. Were they kissing? Laughing about how clueless Connor and I were? Making promises they'd never keep? At 9:07, Connor texted, "I can't wait anymore. I'm going up." I grabbed my phone and my purse and ran. I found Connor in the elevator, his face a mask of controlled rage. Neither of us spoke as the elevator climbed. The hallway of the 4th floor was empty, carpeted in a generic hotel pattern. Room 412 was at the end. We could hear music playing inside, something soft and romantic that made me want to scream. Connor and I looked at each other. I nodded. He knocked. The music stopped. Footsteps approached. David's voice, cautious, "Who is it?" "Hotel management," Connor said, disguising his voice slightly. "We need to check a maintenance issue." A pause. Then the door opened a crack, security chains still attached. David's face appeared, and then froze when he saw us. "Rachel," he started, but Connor was already pushing past him, breaking the chain with his shoulder. The door flew open. Melissa was there, standing by the bed in that red dress. Her makeup was smudged. Her eyes went wide with horror when she saw us. "Connor," she gasped. "Don't," he said, his voice breaking. "Don't say my name. Don't say anything." I pulled out my phone and started recording. My hands were shaking but my voice was steel. "How long, David?" He was scrambling for words, for lies, for anything. "Rachel, this isn't what it looks like." 2 years, I said. "I know it's been 2 years. I have all your messages from that secret app. I have the hotel receipts. I have the location history. I even have the note you left in my wedding dress." I turned to Melissa. "My wedding dress? That you wore while you were fucking my husband." Melissa started crying. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I never meant." "You never meant to what?" My voice was rising now, months of rage finally breaking through. "You never meant to sleep with my husband? You never meant to lie to my face every day? You never meant to wear the dress I got married in while you were having an affair with the man I married?" "It just happened," Melissa sobbed. "We tried to stop, we tried so many times." "You tried?" I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to me. "You got married, Melissa. You married Connor 2 months ago while still sleeping with David. You looked me in the eye and thanked me for the dress while you had plans to meet my husband. That's not trying. That's sociopathy." Connor was standing perfectly still, staring at Melissa. "Tell me the truth. Right now. Do you love me at all, or was I just your cover story?" "I do love you," Melissa said desperately. "I do, Connor, you have to believe me." "But you love him more," Connor said flatly, gesturing at David. Melissa didn't answer. She didn't have to. The silence was answer enough. David finally found his voice. "Rachel, please. Let's go home and talk about this. We can work through this." "Work through this?" I felt something break inside me. "You had a 2-year affair with my sister. You lied to me every single day. You made love to me in our bed while you were sleeping with her. You watched me cry over that text message, comforted me, lied straight to my face. What exactly is there to work through?" "I love you," he said, and he had the audacity to look like he meant it. "I do, Rachel. This thing with Melissa, it's complicated, but it doesn't change how I feel about you. How you feel about me." I stepped closer to him, and he actually flinched. "You don't betray people you love. You don't lie to them for 2 years. You don't fuck their sister in hotel rooms every Thursday while they're working to build a life with you." I turned to include both of them in my gaze. "You want to know the worst part? It's not even the sex. It's the intimacy. All those messages about your feelings, your dreams, your frustrations. Those were supposed to be things you shared with your spouses. But you shared them with each other instead. You built a whole secret relationship while Connor and I were just... what? Placeholders? Obligations?" "No," Melissa whispered. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" Connor asked, his voice cracking. "Help me understand how you could marry me while you were in love with someone else." I thought I could make it work, Melissa said through tears. I thought if I married you, if I committed, I could finally let David go. And I do love you, Connor. I do. But you love him more, Connor repeated. He looked at David. Do you love her? David's silence was damning. Oh my God, Melissa breathed. David? Tell him. Tell them. David looked between me and Melissa, and I saw genuine anguish on his face. I don't know. I love Rachel. But Melissa and we have something. Something that justifies lying to everyone in your lives? I asked. Something worth destroying 2 marriages for? More silence. I stopped recording and pocketed my phone. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. I've already met with an attorney. I have evidence of infidelity, which in this state affects asset division. You'll hear from my lawyer by the end of next week. Rachel, David reached for me, and I jerked away. Don't touch me. Don't call me. Don't come home tonight. I'll have your things packed and waiting on the porch by morning. I looked at Melissa one last time. Mom and Dad need to know. I'll tell them. You can decide whether you want to try to explain yourself or not. Please don't, Melissa begged. Please, Rachel, this will destroy them. You should have thought of that before you destroyed me. Connor and I walked out together, leaving David and Melissa in that hotel room with their lies and their impossible choices. In the elevator, Connor started shaking. I put a hand on his shoulder. Are you going to be okay? I asked. No, he said honestly. Are you? No. We walked out to the parking lot together. Before we parted ways, Connor hugged me, a long, desperate hug between 2 people whose lives had just imploded. Thank you, he said. For telling me. For not letting me stay blind. We deserved the truth, I said. Both of us. I drove home in a daze. The house was dark, empty. I walked through rooms that suddenly felt like a museum of lies. Every piece of furniture, every photo, every memory was tainted. I went to our bedroom, my bedroom now, and started packing David's clothes. I worked mechanically, emotionlessly, until his side of the closet was empty. Then I dragged everything to the front porch like I'd promised. It was past midnight when I finally stopped. I stood in the shower and let myself cry for the first time since finding the note. I cried for the marriage I'd thought I had. I cried for the sister I'd lost. I cried for 8 years of love that had been built on sand. But I didn't cry for long. Because underneath the grief, there was something else. Something unexpected. Relief. The truth, no matter how painful, was better than living in a lie. The next morning, I called my parents and asked them to come over. David's clothes were gone from the porch. He'd come by in the early morning hours while I was finally sleeping and collected them. He'd left his key on the doormat. Even in betrayal, he was tidy. Mom and Dad arrived within an hour, concerned. I told them everything. Showed them the evidence. Watched their faces as they processed that both their daughters' marriages were ending, and why. Mom cried. Dad got very quiet, very angry. Then he hugged me for a long time. I'm sorry, he kept saying. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, I told him. She's my daughter. I raised her. I should have seen. No one saw, I interrupted. Because they didn't want us to see. Melissa called my parents that afternoon. I don't know what she said, but Mom came out of the conversation red-eyed and shaken. She says she's sorry, Mom told me. She wants to talk to you. I'm not ready, I said. And I wasn't. Maybe I never would be. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers and logistics. Patricia Reeves was as good as her reputation. With the evidence of David's infidelity, we were able to push for a favorable settlement. The house would be mine. David had agreed to that immediately, whether out of guilt or pragmatism, I didn't care. We'd split the savings, the investments. I'd keep my retirement accounts, he'd keep his. Connor filed for divorce too. I heard through mutual friends that Melissa had moved out of their apartment and was staying with a friend. David was apparently living in a corporate housing unit his firm sometimes used for out-of-town associates. I didn't ask if David and Melissa were together. I didn't want to know. 6 weeks after that night in the hotel room, the divorce was finalized. David and I met one last time to sign the papers. He looked terrible, thinner, exhausted, older. I really am sorry, he said after we'd signed. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am. What are you sorry for? I asked. The affair or getting caught? He thought about it. Both, I think. And for hurting you. That was never what I wanted. But you did it anyway. For 2 years, you chose to hurt me rather than either commit to our marriage or leave it honestly. I know. Are you with her now? He shook his head. No. Melissa and I. After that night, after seeing what we'd done to you and Connor. We agreed it was over. Really over this time. So you blew up 2 marriages for nothing? I don't know if it was nothing, he said quietly. I loved her. Maybe I still do. But I loved you too. I just couldn't figure out how to reconcile those feelings. You're supposed to choose, I said. That's what commitment means. You choose, and then you honor that choice even when it's hard. I know that now. I stood to leave. I hope you figure out what you actually want, David. Before you hurt someone else. I walked out of that lawyer's office and into my new life. It's been 3 months since the divorce was finalized. I'm writing this from my home office. The house feels different now, lighter somehow, even though I'm alone in it. I've redecorated. Painted the bedroom a warm gray. Bought new furniture. Removed every photo of David, every reminder of our life together. I went to therapy. I'm still going. It helps. Connor and I get coffee sometimes. We're friends now, bonded by our shared trauma. He's doing okay, better than I expected, honestly. He told me last week that he started dating again. Someone he met through work. I'm happy for him. I haven't seen or spoken to Melissa since that night in the hotel. She's tried to reach out, emails, texts, even a letter. I've read none of them. Maybe someday I'll be ready to hear whatever she has to say. But not yet. Maybe not ever. Mom and Dad are struggling. They feel caught between their daughters. I've told them they don't have to choose sides, that they can have whatever relationship with Melissa they want. But things are strained. Family dinners are awkward. Holidays will be complicated. That's just the reality now. I've thrown myself into work. My design business is thriving. I landed 2 major clients in the past month. Turns out that the energy I was putting into maintaining a failing marriage can be redirected into building something that's actually mine. I've also started doing things I never did when I was married. Small things, mostly. I joined a pottery class. I go to concerts alone. I took a solo trip to Portland last month and spent 3 days exploring art galleries and coffee shops without having to coordinate with anyone. I'm learning who I am without David. Without the identity of wife or sister to Melissa. Just Rachel. Just me. It's terrifying and liberating in equal measure. Last week, I finally opened one of Melissa's emails. I don't know why, morbid curiosity, maybe, or a masochistic need to understand. It was long, rambling, full of apologies and explanations that all boiled down to the same thing: she was weak, she made a mistake, it spiraled out of control, she never meant to hurt me. But here's what I've learned: intent doesn't matter much when the damage is done. She wrote that she and David aren't together. That they've both realized what they had wasn't real, it was just the thrill of something forbidden, the excitement of stolen moments. Without the secrecy, without the affair to fuel it, there was nothing substantial left. She said she's in therapy too. That she's trying to understand why she did what she did. That she hates herself for it. She said she misses me. That losing her sister is worse than losing her marriage. I didn't respond. Maybe I will someday. But right now, I'm focusing on healing, not reconciliation. I still have the wedding dress. I almost threw it away a dozen times. Burned it, donated it, cut it into pieces. But I haven't. It sits in its garment bag in the back of my closet, not because I'm holding on to the past, but because I refuse to let the betrayal destroy something that was once beautiful to me. That dress represents a moment in time when I believed in forever. When I stood in front of friends and family and promised to love someone for the rest of my life. I meant those vows, even if David didn't. The dress is a reminder that my love was real, even if his was compromised. I won't let them take that from me. Some days are harder than others. I'll see a couple holding hands and feel a pang of loss. I'll cook dinner for one and remember what it was like to have someone to share meals with. I'll wake up reaching for someone who isn't there. But more and more, the hard days are outnumbered by the good ones. The days when I feel strong. When I feel capable. When I look in the mirror and see someone who survived something that could have destroyed her. I found out last month that David didn't make partner at his firm. I heard it through mutual friends. Apparently, his work suffered significantly during the divorce. Part of me felt a small, petty satisfaction at that. The affair cost him our marriage and his career advancement. Maybe that's karmic justice. Maybe it's just life. Connor told me that Melissa moved out of state. Somewhere in Colorado, starting fresh where no one knows her story. I don't know if that's running away or moving forward. Maybe it's both. My parents came over for dinner last night, just the 3 of us, like it used to be before Melissa and I were married. We didn't talk about her. We didn't talk about David. We talked about Dad's retirement plans, Mom's book club, my new clients. It was normal, or as normal as things can be now. Before they left, Mom hugged me tight. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. "For how you've handled this. For your strength." "I didn't have a choice," I said. You did, she corrected. You could have stayed. You could have forgiven him. Some women would have. But you chose yourself. That takes courage. After they left, I sat on my porch with a glass of wine and thought about that. About choosing myself. It sounds simple, but it wasn't. For weeks after I found that note, part of me wanted to pretend I'd never seen it. To put it back in the pocket, to preserve the illusion of my marriage, to avoid the pain of the truth. But living in a lie isn't really living. It's just existing in someone else's story. I chose the truth, even though it hurt. I chose my own dignity over comfortable denial. And every day, I'm grateful for that choice, even on the days when I'm lonely. Because here's what I know now, loneliness is just a feeling. It comes and goes. But self-respect, once you lose it, is much harder to get back. I'm dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee dates, dinner with someone interesting, testing the waters of vulnerability again. It's strange, starting over at 32. But it's also kind of exciting. I know myself better now. I know what I won't tolerate. I know that I can survive the worst betrayal and come out the other side. That knowledge makes me bolder. Last week, I matched with someone on a dating app. His name is James. He's a high school history teacher, divorced 2 years ago. His ex-wife had an affair. We joked grimly about that over coffee. He has a kind face and makes terrible puns that somehow make me laugh. We've been on 3 dates. Nothing has happened beyond a goodnight kiss, but there's potential there. The possibility of something real. I'm not rushing it. I'm not rushing anything anymore. I've learned that time, real time, not the stolen hours in hotel rooms that David and Melissa had, is precious. I'm not wasting it on people who can't choose me fully, honestly, without reservation. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Melissa had never returned the dress. If she'd kept it, or had it cleaned elsewhere, or if David had simply been more careful about where he left his notes. I'd still be married, still be trusting, still be living in a lie. Would that have been better? I don't think so. The affair would have continued. Maybe for years more. Maybe forever. And I would have been building my life on a foundation of sand, never knowing it could all wash away at any moment. The note was a strange kind of gift, in retrospect. A painful gift, but a gift nonetheless. It gave me the truth. And the truth gave me the freedom to choose a different life. I've started journaling. My therapist suggested it as a way to process everything. Last night I wrote, I am not the woman I was 6 months ago. That woman was trusting to the point of naivety. She believed that love was enough. That vows meant something. That people don't hurt the ones they claim to love. The woman I am now knows better. She knows that love without integrity is just words. That vows are only as strong as the people making them. That people hurt each other all the time, even when they don't mean to, or especially when they don't mean to. But she also knows that she's stronger than she thought. That she can lose everything familiar and not lose herself. That she can start over. That she can choose happiness, even when it means choosing it alone. And maybe, someday, she'll choose to trust again. To love again. But this time, she'll do it with her eyes open. This time, she'll know that she can survive if it falls apart. Because she already has. I finished writing and realized I was smiling. Not a sad smile or a bitter smile. Just a real smile. The kind that comes from somewhere genuine. My phone buzzed. A text from James, random question, have you ever been to the botanical gardens? I heard they have a night exhibition next week. Interested? I thought about it. About saying yes to possibility. About taking a chance on something new, even with all the scars I'm still carrying. I typed back, I'd love that. And I meant it. If you're reading this and you're going through something similar, if you found the note, the text, the evidence that your life isn't what you thought it was, I want you to know something, you will survive this. It doesn't feel like it right now. Right now it probably feels like you're drowning, like the pain will never end, like you'll never trust anyone again. I know. I've been there. I'm still there some days. But you're stronger than you know. And you deserve someone who chooses you, really chooses you, every single day. Not just when it's convenient. Not just when there isn't someone else whispering in their ear. Every day. If they can't do that, then let them go. Choose yourself instead. It's not the ending you wanted. It's not the story you thought you were living. But it can still be a good story. It can still be yours. The wedding dress is still in my closet. Sometimes I open the garment bag and look at it, running my fingers over the lace and pearls. It doesn't make me sad anymore. Instead, it reminds me of the moment I decided I was worth more than lies. The moment I chose truth over comfort. The moment I chose myself. That dress witnessed my wedding. But in a way, it also witnessed my rebirth. And that's worth keeping. I'm not sure if I believe in happy endings anymore. Real life is messier than that. But I believe in new beginnings. I believe in resilience. I believe in the possibility of joy even after devastating loss. I believe in the woman I'm becoming. And I believe that someday, maybe soon, maybe not, I'll fall in love again. Real love this time. The kind that doesn't hide in hotel rooms or leave notes in pockets. The kind that stands in the light and says, "This is who I am. This is who I choose. This is the life we're building together." Until then, I'm okay. More than okay, actually. I'm free. And freedom, I'm learning, is its own kind of love story. I didn't think I'd come back to update this, but some of you reached out asking how I'm doing. So here's where I am. James and I are still seeing each other. It's been 4 months now. We're taking it slow, both of us have scar tissue from our previous marriages, but it's real. He knows my whole story. I know his. We're building something based on honesty, and it feels different. Better. Like I'm finally speaking a language I understand. Connor is engaged. To the woman he started dating after his divorce. I met her last month, she's kind and funny and perfect for him. His wedding is in the spring, and he asked me to be there. I said yes. I still haven't spoken to Melissa. She stopped reaching out about a month ago. I heard from my parents that she's doing well in Colorado, that she's going to therapy, that she's trying to rebuild her life. I'm glad for her, in an abstract way. But I don't miss her. That probably makes me cold, but it's the truth. David sent me an email 2 weeks ago. He's seeing someone new. He wanted me to hear it from him rather than through mutual friends. I appreciated the gesture, I think. I wrote back a short response, "I hope you've learned to be honest with her." That's all I have to say. He didn't reply. I didn't expect him to. My parents and I are doing better. We have a new normal now, dinners every other week, holiday plans that don't include Melissa. It's different, but it works. I sold a major project last week, a complete brand redesign for a tech startup. It's the biggest contract I've ever landed. I celebrated by buying myself the designer bag I'd been eyeing for months. Not because David isn't around to buy it for me. Because I wanted to buy it for myself. That distinction matters. Someone asked me in a DM if I ever regret how I handled everything. If I wish I'd tried to save my marriage, gone to couples therapy, forgiven David. The answer is no. Not for a single second. You can't save something that was never whole to begin with. You can't forgive someone who isn't truly sorry, and David wasn't sorry for the affair. He was sorry he got caught. There's a difference. I did the right thing for me. And that's the only person I need to be right for. So if you're still reading this, still following my story, here's what I want you to take away. Your life is yours. Your choices are yours. Don't stay in situations that diminish you just because leaving is hard. Don't forgive betrayal that isn't repented. Don't settle for someone who treats you like an option. Choose yourself. Always choose yourself. It won't be easy. It might be lonely sometimes. But it will be real. And real is so much better than the alternative. I'm happy now. Not the naive happiness I had before, I'll probably never be that trusting again. But a deeper happiness. One built on self-respect and truth and the knowledge that I can handle whatever life throws at me. Because I already have. And so can you. Thank you for reading my story. Thank you for the kind messages and the support from internet strangers who somehow made me feel less alone during the darkest period of my life. I'm closing this chapter now. Moving forward. Living my life. The wedding dress is still in my closet. And I'm still glad I kept it. Because it's not a symbol of what I lost anymore. It's a symbol of what I found, myself. And that, in the end, is the most beautiful thing I could have hoped for.